This podcast serves Middle Tennessee every weekday morning, and it's made possible by member support. Learn how you can make a difference at WPLN.org/support.
This is the NashVillager Podcast. It's December 10th, 2025. On this day in 1768, the first installment of the Encyclopedia Britannica was published in Scotland. I say installment, not edition, because it didn't start out as the group of bound volumes that many of us grew up seeing in libraries. The first edition was broken into 100 sections, with a new installment coming out each week for 100 weeks. Eventually, once it was all out, the edition was made available in book form. The Britannica was the first English-language encyclopedia, the first one to use the dictionary style of alphabetical organization that became the standard. And it's still a great reference source. I use it all the time in preparing for this podcast. These days, it's a website, not a group of books, but it's still very well sourced, very well written, with articles on more things than you'd even imagined being curious about. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. In just a minute, we'll get to the news of the day, as we always do in this podcast's newscast. But the Britannica's anniversary reminds me that I've never talked much here about where I get the information that I share with you. But in both news and history, sourcing is a really important part of separating fact from fiction. So I thought I'd pull back the curtain for a minute and let you know a little more about where my information comes from. Now, before I record an episode, my script is carefully edited by someone else at the station. These days, it's usually LaTonya Turner taking on that task. And in the scripts that I give her, I leave notes or links to show where I got my information. I don't take the time to put together a properly formatted bibliography, but the citations are there for my editor to confirm. And when I'm talking about what's happening right now in Nashville and Tennessee, a lot of those links go to the coverage from our own reporters here at WPLN News. I'm also getting a lot of information just by doing the other part of my job, which is being the local host during a morning edition. I prepare and deliver every newscast that goes on the radio in the morning. So I basically spend hours each day sorting through the fire hose of all the local news being reported around the community, all the press releases various groups and agencies are sending out, that kind of thing. When I cover a topic here that one of our reporters has some experience in, they'll generally give my script a second look, too, just to make sure that I've got it all straight. Sometimes I'll suggest another angle to things that I hadn't realized, and I'll work that insight into what I present to you. As for the historical context, I seek that out from a number of other places. Probably the greatest resource for what I do is the Nashville room at the downtown library. And I tell you, I am beyond eager for it to reopen once all the smoke damage from this summer's garage explosion is cleaned up. As a history nerd and a near lifelong resident of the area, one of the biggest joys of my job is to go to the Nashville room, pull books about specific mid-state communities off the shelves, and then pour through them for things I never knew before. What's really great is when I see something that gives me an, oh, so that's how things got to be that way moment. When something is perfect for the podcast, I figure out the most relevant dates associated with that nugget of information and enter them into a spreadsheet that I use as a kind of makeshift database. I'll type in appropriate quotes from the book, details I think you'd want to know, and of course, that citation to give to my editor when the time comes. From there, the internet has a lot of good resources for double-checking or fleshing out that information. There are the digital collections of both the Nashville and Tennessee state libraries, for one thing. Sometimes I can find academic articles that have been published in journals about a certain person or incident. Old newspaper articles that have been digitized can be super helpful. Some of our local universities have really good resources online as well. And if I'm looking at anything regarding government, it's always helpful to look up what the state constitution or code says or has said. And all of that's available on the web as well. But probably the single online source I reach for most often is the Tennessee Encyclopedia. It's much smaller than the Britannica, obviously. Back when it was first produced, it was published as a single thick volume. Like the Britannica, it's all online now. You do sometimes have to keep in mind that the bulk of it was researched and written in the late 90s, but there are newer articles that have been added since. And for an understanding of the state at points before the turn of the millennium, it really is a fantastic clearinghouse of information. So those are the high points of where I go. I'm telling you this in case you're interested in looking things up on your own, but also because I think it's just good to know where your information source pulls its information from. In just a few minutes, this week's edition of What We're Wednesday is coming up after the newscast.
At WPLN, we tell stories about honoring our families.
If he become a monk, that means that mom and dad will go to heaven when they pass away.
And preserving memories.
I never heard of a Rosenwald school. Nobody never told me that's where I went.
I'm Char Daston, and my reporting connects you with your neighbors and the important moments in their lives.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Nashville's courthouse is stepping up security following a social media post by Congressman Andy Ogles, which the court says could incite violence. Ogles posted the photos and names of several Nashville judges online with a message that, quote, "We are at war." The post criticized the Democratic judges for dismissing cases against a Nashville man accused of sexual assault. Nashville's courthouse says it's heightening security and asking the state to help ensure the court's safety. In a letter to the governor, the court administrator referred to Ogles' comments as a, quote, "reckless use of violent rhetoric," and stressed concern over the rise in political violence nationwide. Governor Bill Lee formally denied clemency for Harold Wayne Nichols last night, according to the man's legal team. Nichols was sentenced to death for the rape and murder of 20-year-old college student Karen Pulley in 1988. He's scheduled to undergo lethal injection on Thursday. In the short time until then, his attorneys are fighting for information about the drugs that will be used in his death sentence. WPLN health reporter Catherine Sweeney says there's been a significant court development.
The Department of Correction refused to turn over a ton of documents with specifics, like when the drugs expire and whether they've been tested lately and the results of those tests. They said the state's secrecy laws protect not only against leaking the manufacturers' and sellers' names, but any information that could lead to them being outed. This week, a Knox County judge said, no, you're reading those secrecy laws too broadly, redact the names and turn those records over.
The Department of Correction plans to appeal. The execution is scheduled for 10 a.m. tomorrow. The U.S. Supreme Court will not get involved in a Tennessee case over vanity license plates. On Monday, the High Court refused to hear an appeal from Leah Gilliam, whose personal license plate was rejected. The state initially approved her request for a vanity plate that read 69 PWNDU. But it revoked the decision 11 years later after receiving a complaint that the plate had a sexual connotation. Gilliam sued, arguing that the wording referenced an online gamer phrase. Also, she said the 69 referred to the year of the moon landing because she is an astronomy buff. She argued that the state is violating her freedom of speech. State Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti argued the issue is more complicated because license plates involve some level of government speech. He says how the state regulates this is not of national importance worthy of the justice's time. The nation's highest court agreed, saying it will not get involved in the state's regulations. But free speech groups say the case has larger implications because it pushes the boundaries on free speech and will create constitutional problems beyond the bumpers of vehicles on Tennessee. Memphis business owners are experiencing a drop in people going out since National Guard troops and federal agents have been deployed. Restaurants and museums report business is down 30 to 50% since the law enforcement surge began stopping traffic and making arrests several times during the day. Shelby County's mayor says it's tough for people to justify going shopping or eating out when there are men in military fatigues outside. He says it's been especially hard on the city's Latino community. People who are afraid of getting caught up in a dragnet are scared to go to work, to church, or to family events. Members of the Latino group say Tennessee Highway Patrol cars and dark SUVs driven by federal immigration agents routinely park outside restaurants, retail stores, and other businesses. President Trump ordered the National Guard troops to combat violent crime. Supporters praised the law enforcement surge for removing criminals off the streets. Task force data shows there were 3,500 arrests and more than 39,000 traffic stops since the effort started in late September. Tennessee farmers have lost an estimated $450 million this year. That's because President Trump's tariffs made it harder for corn and soybean farmers to sell their produce overseas. Now the president says he'll give $12 billion in one-time payments to farmers hit hard by the trade war. At the Tennessee Farm Bureau's annual meeting, Governor Bill Lee touted that money.
It's working. If this program is laid out in a way, and I believe it's going to be, that targets losses at those uniquely who are suffering the losses, then it'll be a win for farmers.
It's not yet clear how much of that money will go to Tennessee. Payments will depend on how many acres a farmer has planted and their production costs. Columbia's City Council is weighing a measure that could more than double the community's water bills over the next 5 years. That's to pay for a new water treatment plant and a more drought-resistant intake from the Duck River. The increased rates would affect tens of thousands of customers in and around Columbia. Officials say the rate increase would help secure low-interest, long-term federal and state loans for the project. The Tennessee Lookout reports the exact amount of the rate hike depends on how much the utility can collect in new customer fees, which could also go up. The new intake would substantially increase how much water the utility can pull out of the river each day. Growth along the Duck has become a point of contention in recent years because the river is known for its biodiversity.
You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org.
I'm Marquise Munson here with another edition of Nashville Public Radio's What Where Wednesday, keeping you up to date with the happenings in Nashville this week. From Nashville band Willis at the Basement East on Friday to Belly 30th anniversary show at Brooklyn Bowl on Sunday, and Greg Freeman at the Blue Room on Tuesday. For more events, head over to WNXP.org/events.
Hoping for a change, but nothing moves me. Where do we go? Where do I go from here?
This week for What We're Wednesday, we feature Nashville Rep Presents It's a Wonderful Life, happening from Friday, December 12th through the 21st at the Tennessee Performing Arts Center. The Nashville Repertory Theater, founded in 1985 by Martha Rivers Ingram and Matt Perkle, is celebrating over 41 years of presenting musicals, new plays, and reimagined classics to Middle Tennessee.
So my name is Amos Glass, and I'm the interim executive director over at the Nashville Repertory Theater. One of my favorite things about Nashville Rep is we're a theater company in the heart of Music City. And when people think of the arts in our community, they think of all the country music that exists, but I don't think they realize the amount of theatrical talent that actually lives and breathes in our community. So it's important for our company to shine a light on those people and give opportunities to the theatrical talent that lives here, because the artists that live here are so fantastic. And one of the things that Nashville prides ourselves in is most of our shows are cast with people that live in Nashville. We don't really bring in people from outside the cities too much. Of course, that does happen, but most of the people that we see on our stages are your neighbors, are your community members. You could see them at the grocery store, but we just really want to support the local artist community that lives here because they're fantastic. So Nashville has a handful of professional equity theater companies. Equity is the theater union, but like we are one of them. The Nashville Shakespeare Festival is one of them. Children's Theater and Studio 10 are all our equity theater companies in town, and all of us provide opportunities that our artists can actually have a living doing the craft and the love of their hearts. And I think that's important because some cities don't have that, and the fact that our theater community has 4 theater companies that are professional, that gives and pays people to be a part of it, is so important that we love being able to give that joy of theater to the people that get to perform it because it's so much love. I started out as an actor myself, and getting to work on this side of theater is fantastic, but being able to get to hire different artists in our community to do the craft that they love so much is just such a meaningful thing to do and help uplift new voices in our community and give people new chances. And that's just the important part of keeping theater alive, is keeping the artists in our community. We offer a series of master classes and workshops throughout the year that helps people grow. For instance, we just had one a couple months ago with Alan Mingo Jr., who was the Wiz in The Wiz, the tour that came through TPAC. So we always try to make sure there's opportunities for people to grow and learn their craft. But then also we have season open auditions every single year that anybody that wants to can come and audition and maybe make its way onto our shows. We pride ourselves, and I probably say about 25 to 30% each year are Nashville Rep debuts. So if you've never been on a Nashville Rep stage before and you love it and you want to try it, come out and audition, because there's always a chance that you'll make it on our stage. But we also do other performances such as Rep Aloud readings and Ingram New Works readings that give people a chance to work on their craft, get better, be stronger, and introduce new people to our community and our audiences. So we're so proud to have a brand new adaptation of It's a Wonderful Life by a woman named Catherine Bush. It is the classic film you know and you love, just on stage with real people right in front of you. And there's just something about the magic of live theater, about being able to see a classic like It's a Wonderful Life in person. But It's a Wonderful Life, if you don't know it, is the story of George Bailey, who's having a rough time in the world, who gets visited by an angel to be named Clarence, who's also trying to earn his wings. And you see him help George find the love of family, the love of community, and the love he has for himself around Christmas time, which is the most magical time at all. There are some differences, but primarily it is the movie you know and love by Frank Capra, and also based on the book The Greatest Gift. So it is the exact same story you know, but only we do it in our own Nashville Rep way of telling the story with 10 actors. So the movie has so many different people of the whole community, but we do it with 10 people playing multiple roles, changing hats, changing coats, and it's just a wonderful way to tell a story with a small group of an ensemble, because the ensemble of actors we've hired for the show are fantastic and tell the story so beautifully that I left almost crying when I saw the show earlier this week. The show is so much about the community coming together to support each other that, as Nashville Rep being your professional theater company in Nashville, we would love for the community all come together, share the wonderful joys and warmth of Christmas. And you just know every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. So come and help us give some angels some wings.
For more information on It's a Wonderful Life and other events happening this week, visit WNXP.org. My name is Marquise Munson, and thank you for listening to another edition of What We're Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the NashVillager Podcast. We take this look at Nashville news every weekday. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and tell a friend or give us a mention on your socials. It really helps get the word out. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener-supported. You can become a member at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.